Welcome to our lovely future humans and our 5D collective. To those who have a steady self-image, if you're new, that will be the easiest thing for me to let you know. Nervous system sovereignty. So when you journal and you use mindset practices, you don't validate your own feelings. You also don't minimize them, and you grow more blissful. I'm 46. I'm 46.0 version, moving into the future, and mystic here. Okay, so science, spirituality come together, and let me have a little bit of fun with you as we continue on our topics. Emotionally immature people, those are the fear-based ones that are in leadership positions still, because it's only been in the recent years that we're completely aware of our lovely embodied brain, and the capacity to be yourself under pressure is not for everyone. I mean, everyone can achieve it. That's why humans are made of love, as I said. So fear-based leaders, they perpetuate and continue creating ignorance, arrogance, hatred, and divide, and epistemic laziness. And we know, though, that we're made of love, the oxytocin gene hormone. And so I'm going to talk to you from neuroscience, neurobiology, to a bunch more perspectives, but not only. And don't write down notes, because remember, I can fuck it up and forget it. But in the meantime, we are also going to look at the 3 leadership truths that we don't discuss enough and haven't yet held leaders accountable. I shared this one on LinkedIn in writing, and the video, the short, is on YouTube too. So number 1, I'm going to express it differently though, the concept. Self-regulation and anchoring ventral energy. If you lead, it's because you choose to regulate, and you can. And so by regulating, you grow, and you don't validate yourself. In fact, actually, let me move to number 3 first. Disengagement from validation seeking. So you don't want a pity party, but you also don't, again, ignore if you have stuff come up, and you don't take it personally if you're having some type of misalignment. Functional inner child adults, they grow, and they grow more harmonious, secure connections. So the emotionally immature person doesn't know how to do this. Fear-based leadership creates a very uninteresting environment, but we learn how to handle their 5 hands. Yes, I said handle. Okay, number 2, because we are emotionally and intellectually intelligent. And so these 3 leadership truths, not everybody has these. So just with intellectual intelligence, you're not intelligent. In fact, that's why we have arrogance and ignorance. Furthermore, epistemic lazy people, but also tribal certainty and masses that come together, and the followers, they validate, and they grow small window tolerance even if they journal, and so they stagnate. And therefore, with their tribal certainty, their mass behavior, their arrogance, their epistemic laziness, their biases, their polarization, their narratives, their emotional charges, which all stem from their dysregulation, they are not able to lead themselves under pressure or others, and they model together. Ice Age, Diego's family, anyone? They model traumatized charges, maladaptive patterns of behavior, all of them. Any person who is supporting charges in a way of creating divisiveness instead of showing what it is to be emotionally mature is going to be what I'm calling for now this title, fear-based leader. But we all have fear. The healthy kind means why air, water, food are a priority. And so when we see what's going on out there, like flat earthers, we don't think it's because of the ones who bring all the words in and use them right or wrong or whatever. No, we know why they're around. Following the leader like Peter Pan. So leaders choose to regulate and grow under pressure, not validate ourselves, not validate our charges, the maladaptive patterns of behavior, not validate a story. So mine already knows how health is lived thanks to my mother teaching me what health is in moderation, and me being a self-regulating, steady self-image. So when I began this nutritionist diet, you all know this, science is facts. Science is truth. Spiritual, religion, all that. I have belief, faith, I have channels, downloads, all of what you want. Bring it all in. I won't ever deny what science is, because science is not a belief. It brings to me data, not to mention that everything that I've learned so far of science not only is amazing, but as for the human being, yes, it's God's perfection. So the fact that I'm denied and rejected because I know how to explain decentralizing the self and religious experiences and say, no, it's not evil or a demon, It's a human being who needs help. And wow, I thought you knew what God wanted from his children. Don't you remember the stories? Well, no, let's not use those because people take them out of context. Just remember what Jesus said. Forgive, for they don't know. Blessed are those who believe without seeing. Don't cast a stone. Remember, there's only one God. Be scared of him, not of the people who can kill you because you disagree with them or because they think they own words. Oh, and yeah, remember, the kingdom of God is within every one of your brothers and sisters. So the ones who are going against that which is what we're made of, which is why religion, spirituality, science, that's not what gives you life's purpose. The state that you're in, your nervous system state, if you don't own it, then, well, we all know who the first 3 years of life is. Everyone. Your core is who you are. And if you have maladaptive patterns of behavior, that's where people will justify their charges and they will continue to be enraged where injustices are. We are disgusted where we see injustices because we know we can do better. And so disgust is an active emotion that comes up because when our ancestors, I got it explained in a bunch of different courses, again, human here, supporting personal growth and spiritual growth. So I continue to learn because that's what happens when you like to be an expert in your field. And no, we don't substitute good therapists. No mentor substitutes a good therapist, no life coach. The good therapist leads you to your transformation. Then the transformation sticks because instead of doing this, I want life now, Maria. You're trying to make me get over my emotions. Instead of doing that, you don't do that. You have people who will hold you not to the mediocre standards of that which act like teenagers. All the movies that I see consistently make me think, what the heck do we have no emotionally and intellectually intelligent people in art? Oh, wait a minute, that's right though. The drama kings and drama queens, that's their one way of coming out with it. You know what, let me leave it alone. So I was 4 and rejected by boys because I wanted to read. I just love to let you know, in college I met people who didn't want to learn. I still meet people who don't want to learn. And I think I'm so happy I have a master's degree. I'm just not going back for PhD because I don't need it in my career. But I'm happy that we have researchers like Stephen Porges and more who know and value, thank you also Neil deGrasse, that which is called academia, and understand the hard work is being peer reviewed and continuing to stay within academia. And then the hard work is what we all will say yes to, updating systems for the whole world and the whole globe, because we don't have small goals. Mediocre minded and anyone who has small can go hang out together. Life's too hard for them. Life's purpose. You see what I'm saying? So the window of welcome. If you want to use emotional intelligence alone, you're going to have one, because that's the part of what emotional intelligence is, not a skill that you can have if you don't have the self-regulation of your own self-inventory energy. You grow more blissed out as you move into more of emotional intelligence. And just letting you know here, it's not from here. And so while I thought that when I would join a bunch of different subreddit groups that they would be the real deal, validating loops. People will just join groups, use the words, which is why words, I use them wrong, because even if people want to tell me that it's important, I just say if I have an emotionally mature person, they're going to figure it out and not get mean. And we're going to have a fun time and we're going to keep learning. Okay, so emotionally mature people are love-based, which all humans can be. The fear-based ones create hatred, divide. They continue to perpetuate old stories, and with their charges, they bring in that which is called we validate each other's stories. And so the stories are, science is fake, not real. There's still a monster. There's still potential danger from the monster. And I'm making fun of the monster because when I got taught with my good Christian Catholic catechist, the monster Lucifer, I was like, there's no monster by the time I was 20. That's all it took for Maria to be like, yeah, God, so listen, suffering, plenty of it. The humans are imperfect. You've let me know that one. I can see the cloak people. I thought that they would do better by getting those people who hurt children and others into prison, but apparently they always make up excuses for why they don't have to go. Apparently, I don't know, it's something to do with them wanting to not model a good example, because that's the only thing I can tell you is, you want to tell me that you're a good example, then you don't actually deny justice to take place. And so when those people are enraged, I don't condemn or enraged. I just know whether it's religion, spirituality, or science, it doesn't give you meaning. It supports us as words do, because, our species had evolved to use words and thoughts, which is why people can get away with thinking that science, you don't have to believe in it. There's data. This is the one thing about science. So grounded in reality people can acknowledge their cherishable beliefs can be falsifiable. Objective truths are a handful. They don't deny science because they don't deny God, because they physically can't. But hold on for it. Did you know that there's a man that in a moment of time called pseudoscience psychiatry because he called mental illness pseudoscience, and that was because they didn't have the technology and the knowledge of the embodied brain. Ignorance is actively always at hand in our species. Like right now, I'm sure I'm ignorant about some things, but I have this thing called, besides the mystic stuff, clairvoyance, clairaudience, all that, I have a brain that has learned a lot of different topics, but one of which I'll never forget from high school, biology. When I hear biology, neurobiology, neuroscience, and I learn from them, and then I learn about how humans are in our embodied brain, I'm like, wow, natural selection continues to thrive like it never has, it always has. So the point is, humans are made of love. All of them, because we have the ventral vagal state. Those who don't want to access and anchor in their ventral energy, again, and they validate each other, they're doing each other a disservice, which is why as I yell out to Dan Martell, who doesn't watch my content, hey Dan, mediocre people, not dangerous. We know when they try to say it's okay to be mediocre. Yeah, you know what? You go do mediocre. We're going to go do what we do best. The hard stuff. Something about the way you look. Na 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 na. Something about the way you move. So when people feel that life is hard, I'm just going to let you know there's a lovely lady named Dr. Amy Pegan. She explains how neuroception works, and so does Bessel van der Kolk. They're dysregulated and don't know self-regulation, which is why right now we should be holding accountable in leadership positions everywhere all over the world emotionally immature people, because they don't know how to self-regulate or anchor in ventral energy. So under pressure, they actively bring forth their maladaptive patterns of behavior from whatever it is their emotionally immature selves did when they were kids. Two, they don't know how to use emotional intelligence, so their intellectual intelligence sounds like arrogance, ignorance, moronism, epistemic laziness. They actually, like Neil will have pointed out, some people can know enough about a subject matter to think they're right, but not enough to know they're wrong. And these are the very people who fall for that shit by themselves because they get arrogant, since they're insecure, since they didn't get emotionally matured, and that means that their right mode of the brain, which gets affected by childhood developmental trauma, it can be healed, but they need to go and get that taken care of. So the point is, when people don't want to get bilaterally vertical overall integrated, I'm going to know, and so is anybody who's still here right now. So you don't journal and do reflection because you're validating your feelings. You're like, okay, yes, we can get very upset at that, which is hatred out there, but we won't participate. We'll get irritated, but not participate. In my case, I also promise God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, Buddha, and I have a thing going on where I enlighten every time he makes fun of me, because otherwise I'll be wasting way too much time on those who have no control, but they want it. I want the diet. We're doing the diet. But I got intrigued because I'm not an indulging parent. I'm not a strict asshole parent. And I am definitely not any of that, which is meanness, dysregulated to myself. Because why would I treat myself like shit? Actively, I don't like it when people are mean. I'm a 3-year-old right now. Like, get away. I have a study for you. Wait for it. This is fabulous. There's a study that I told you all about. And if you're not seeing me, I'm pointing at the screen, because Spotify listeners not always can see me, or all of the other podcast listeners on YouTube. I know you can, but my point is this study, the 14-month-olds, remember? Yeah, they did an updated study. This is going to get good. It's something you already know, but wait for it, because when you're intelligent, you use the information, say, okay, it gave me more insights on me. Amygdala. We know what we like. We know what we don't like. Okay, let's not exaggerate what we don't like, because that's not nice. So emotional awareness means self-awareness. And what's amazing is when you get to be aware, like I was the other day with the Mui sphere. And you self-regulate because you want to be supportive in your Mui sphere, your biosphere, and then so that's like, wow, I did the thing of self-regulating and noticing the charge so I can uncharge it. panic attacks were the most uncomfortable of all this personally. But we all have the freeze response, the child parts. Anybody? Are you new? You don't know all this. So I'm attachment trauma educated, but I'm going to stop with all that because you probably will get bored. So anyways, the freeze response, and I was in an incubator. So between Peter Levine and my other courses, I'm like, okay, I can understand where the panic attacks came from. And I don't grow weaker, I grow stronger, and they've actually stopped. And since I began the nutritionist diet, all of the symptoms that I was having, all of it, IBS, the lightheadedness, and you know what happens when you work with academic smart experts who went to school on purpose, and then they continue learning because the professionals who care about what they do, they don't stop learning and think, I have a perfect fucking system for you. To you now. Wow, you think I'm an idiot? Wait, you have did you say perfect? Yeah, no, sorry. You mean, consilience. Okay, what are we bringing in together? Oh, all of the good. Okay, so I'm being funny too. But long story short, the way she explained how the body works, I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then what I also learned from other people about when you self-regulate your body with the diet, with the physical activity, all of that goes well. If, on the other hand, beneath the surface, you still have, like Dr. Amy Pigan points out, this helplessness state, the defensiveness, then that's not really great because you still have stuff that you want to unpack. And your body will naturally, organically unpack it, but people who think they can do it on their own, there's EMDR, child parts work somatics, because it is a process, but also that implicit memory. What people don't seem to understand when they're just using their mouths on Reddit communities and using it all is you won't actually know. If you have states of self, yeah, that's something you'll be completely unaware of. And I have friends that have this stuff and they don't want to go to therapy. And I always make sure to watch my tone so that I don't trigger something, and watch my words, because otherwise I might actually, and triggering. So DID, dissociative identity disorder, Dr. Danny Siegel, I took a course in that one too. And he explained you feel it when there's a switch. Also, there's like a different timbre. And then there's also potentially, they can have allergies that the other state of self doesn't. So long story short, it's sad that I get to know all these things, but that I won't be able to share them with those who aren't believers of science and who are not going to go get their memory barriers healed. So integration of the brain is the most amazing of gifts, and Dr. Danny Siegel is one of the most amazing of gifts to humanity, as is Stephen Porges, Bessel van der Kolk, Janina Fisher, Pat Ogden, and my entire keep of Somatopia, and a lot more. So what I love to let you all know, science saved the day, because, Dalai Lama made a call to all the spiritual and religious ones. They're still fighting over which one of the books is the better book. So, it's sad to say what fear-based everything does. Disappointing. Doesn't make me a not believer. No, disappointing. But, again, we don't play God. The ones who are of faith and spiritual, we know exactly what humans are made of. Imperfections and flaws. And fear-based are ego, control, insecurity, survival mode. And apparently they don't know how to integrate. No, they choose to support their maladaptive patterns of behavior, tribal certainty, epistemic laziness, and in fact they put each other on pedestals, and none of the ones who are fear-based will notice that the only reason we still have chaos in a way of it being completely unnecessary is because those who thrive on drama thrive on suffering, because they're destabilized, and because all of their dysregulation in their 0-8-year-old non-metabolized trauma time comes up, and they get to feed off of each other. So those who are intelligent are aware, as discerning human beings. God's discerning equanimous love, by the way, if you want to learn a little bit about my upbringing, I'm the co-author of a book, The Ways to God, and my chapter is titled God is Discerning Equanimous Love. That's his timbre, that's his everything, always protective, never shouted once. And those who want to say a parent is perfect like God, no parents are, no human is. But you better bet that we know how every person can get to that perfection of their own. Steady self-image with a self-regulating nervous system, and choosing eustress, which right here. So when that happens, you're blissed out every day more, even when your mui or your biosphere or stuff is happening where there's charges. Okay, so you don't get disconnected. You also don't justify if you get emotional in a way that is affecting a room. Okay, so that's the beauty of being mature. And when we have immaturity, we're not lecturers. We're not martyrs or superiors or blamers or victims, codependent people who try to tell each other what to do in life. And so, again, if someone wants to allow themselves to follow the leader of mediocre people and allow themselves that which is not just, I'm going to let myself have a day off of something. Okay, so it's very clear when there are people who are overwhelmed by reality. And instead of going the let me get a inner growth mindset, they go down the validation mindset and the escape mindset and the basically ignoring that they're overwhelmed, and that overwhelm with a nervous system means therapy is a good idea. Once that's done, you'll hear people say, I want to do the next movie, I want to live now. And you think, life's purpose. Yes, there's no one specific answer to that. And if you will not find it within your own steady self-image, you will not be finding it out there, because that's the point of why people who have an unsteady self-image don't know how to move into window of welcome. So they weaken when they journal because they validate the charges. They weaken when they think because they validate their thoughts, or because they're doing an inner or outer critic. So they're going to use a lot of their time in a low frequency instead of noticing that they don't know how to get that transformation to stick, because that's the whole point of why therapy is important. But then once you're done, if you can't still do it, then you still want to go wherever it is that works with somatics so that you can continue strengthening the window of tolerance. And at one point, you still will be the only one who can say, when I'm sad, like the Zen master out there who has laundry, I won't think nasty thoughts of human beings because I'm upset at them. I will allow my 3-year-old and myself and all of this ego self, again, to be what it is. It's in a body that cares about life. So the part about love and what we're made of is because our species, natural selection, it organically happens. Biology, neurobiology, nervous system. So give me a minute, okay? So distortion is for those who maintain dysregulation, those who choose non-bilateral, staying with that, and that's why their arrogance and their fake confidence is obvious. They will model that which is epistemic laziness, even though they'll come in with their full-blown, I know the perfect way, and they will prove it to you because they'll have all the pieces of the puzzle to know they're right. They will tell you that that which says they're wrong is fake. So they don't know how to handle that which is going to create a very interesting conversation. Those who are smart love to hear panel of debates, especially with the true experts who breed humility, because they say, look, we know 90 things. As you all know, tomorrow we might know some more things. Here's, though, with this, our conclusions so far. So far, we can see that these are what data points we have. Those who don't like that, unsteady self-image people don't like this because their right mode is not in the lead with the left. So they actively want it to be only 1, 2, 3. Control is a comfortable blanket, which is why the mediocre, allowing mediocre to be, when people don't push themselves, quote unquote. And I say quote unquote because you really aren't going to push yourself. The minute you are a steady self-image, you're going to thrive in the blissed out state because you don't want to be rigid. Your playground is your mind. Your playground is your body. And so rigidity means that you feel uncomfortable. That's like the panic attacks, right? The charges. So you're like, oh, wait, what's going on? Oh, okay, hold on. No, there's no physical threat. It's very easy to snap out of it because you're not in a body that's unsafe. Your embodied brain. Okay, cool. So prefrontal cortex, that's what happens when you're, I call it the function of child adults. Where am I leading from? Oh, look, I had a charge. Okay, let me disengage from it. Oh, look, I was really upset here. That's why for the twin flame thing, those who are, and I always like to say actual empowered divine feminines, just because it's not enough to just say feminine due to the fact that there's a bunch of them who are getting tested by their masculines. The masculine empowered divine masculine will not be testing anyone either, but realistically we have feminine and masculine, embodied brain lady here, giving you the human elements, the spiritual and spirituality. These are not rules. This is Maria's lived experience and just bringing to you the mystic spiritual plus the human elements, meaning the sciences stuff, which is really amazing. So give me a minute to gather some pieces of paper. So fear-based leaders, yes, they will continue doing what they do best. We know what humans are made of, which is why love continues to arise. And when you are within that presence, how do you come back to love? And we're going to use some journal prompts. That way you can actually, when you're in a presence of a mui, if it's not from you, so I'll know when I'm getting charged because I perceive my child parts, okay? And that's why when you have emotionally immature people in leadership positions, those who are mature will not stick to those companies. They will not stick to those roles. They will actively know what they're dealing with because it's clear what tribal certainty, epistemic laziness, what modeling ignorance is, and basically any kind of, it's really not something you'll want to be around. I'm going to give you the study. We all have an amygdala. So our core is the same. When you have no core wounds because you are welcoming yourself with your flaws, with your imperfections, this is the being yourself stuff that IHP has always been here for. But now I have the nervous system stuff that I'm, so mystic or not doesn't matter because we all are somatic empaths. And actively, those who are scientists have the same experiences we do. Oh, and actively, scientists love to tell you they have the law of everything. And love still wins here. So at the end of the day, no person who is intelligent is going to say fear wins. We say we have healthy fear, and healthy fear means you know what's important. Meantime, the masculines don't test feminines. They just slow everything down. But then for me, I get chimed in by God, where he reminds me, don't play the know-it-all. And then I remind myself, Akashic record reader right here. I've seen cosmic karmic balancing. And choice points are what all of people are given. So from 8 billion people to also there's soul age groups, but also countries I found out have also their own karma to unravel. So it's not actually something that I'm going to say you have to. Again, don't write down notes, as I'm giving you pieces of information based on my lived experience and based on all the spiritual, mystic, and sciences information I have. And we're not seeking to be right or wrong. When you are a person who is in the capacity of being our humanity, the love that humans can be, not fear-based leaders, love-based leaders, which are real leaders, because the followers validate each other. You're not looking to be right or wrong. The people who need to be right or wrong are still working to do the whole proof thing. Proving beyond a burden of a reasonable doubt, That's hard work, but that's a left brain that doesn't work with the right. When you're working with both sides, you are blissed out. As a child is, and you're not an indulging parent, you're a human being who's like, wow, I'm learning more shit. This is amazing. And that's because you're not competing with any of those voices of other people out there. It's a sad story to find those who are continuing to use religion, spirituality, and science to divide people. But I know who follows them and who holds them in high regard, and who actively, when they will show their failure as business owners, as all of it, will deny that they're failing, will come up with a narrative of Hansel and Gretel that is so big and amazing that you like, wow, I have perspective too as a round earther. I really never knew that could be, you really make sense though, because everyone's going to make sense of themselves. And that's what an objective human being will know. I'll make sense to Marie all day long, which is why I won't validate myself, but you better bet you don't understand me better than I understand me. You have an interpretation. Science, it's a fact. Science is objective truths. We're grounded in reality. They don't have the capacity to tell us God doesn't exist. Those who want to say that by being able to bring science and spirituality together, that we're hypocrites, don't know of the Christian Catholic Belgian priest who is the reason why Georges Lemaitre, one of the first who talked about the Big Bang Theory, something like that. So they forget pieces of information because these pieces of information get washed out. Then when they get to be brought forth, but I digress. Okay, so people who are smart don't actually have conflicting relationships with words, knowledge, and all information, because they're not competing and trying to prove that they are worthy. Those who are trying to prove that they are worthy are disconnected from their own selves, and they will support each other, which is why Diego's family from Ice Age. They will deny the havoc, the suffering, the chaos, all the hatred, and all the hurting that they will have done by creating some story narrative, which is why getting charged and enraged won't change that. Because you don't talk sense to half a brain who has a story for you, who can explain it to you, see everything the way they're seeing it, subjective reality, make sense of it, and say, you're the liar. I'm not a liar. I know what science shows. Humans have love inside of them. The nervous system, prefrontal cortex. Actually, if you look at cells in biology and the way animals continue to, we did too. I know that some people think that because of the whole Darwinism, they don't want to teach science. So somehow people really did get it in their heads. We have people who don't go to doctors, that science is not part of that which is God's children. Yeah, so I don't support ignorance, and I wish that leaders took their position seriously, but fear-based leaders don't care about their position. Emotionally immature people are dysregulated and care about controlling their environment and winning because they are losers, because they're insecure. And they will continue to not notice that they have mustard on their chin. So they won't notice. People who understand, they're not choosing it. We're not harboring resentment towards those who are fear-based. I know I'm sad for them. We forgive, we love. We don't have to be forgiving anyone in a way of playing like we're the know-it-alls. It's every person walks a walk and knows their body, knows their story, and you don't make somebody love themselves first. It's a confusing letdown, and if they don't take therapy seriously and don't want to go, again, they will most likely hang out with the mediocre crowd so that they can validate each other and continue to escape reality. Some will say, no, not drugs, or no drugs, no alcohol, just other ways. Okay, that word, you just told me your nervous system's overwhelmed. What are you doing here? So sometimes, there's a lot of subreddit groups. They do great supporting each other, but sometimes it's like, okay, motivation and mindset, that really doesn't fit that group. That's more of you don't motivate that way or have a mindset that is going to be expanding. It's just sad that I understand you. I'm a human too, but I live 24 hours to make a difference. Inspiring human potential. I leave it, at least for some of you, it'll be, okay, we all can make it, and every human can. There's no monster inside of any of them. The sad story is they might not have it to meet themselves. These individuals from narcissistic families, they internalize the sense of competition that they must be the only one in the number one spot, that everybody's vying for that spot. Daniel J. Fox. Without building insight and strategies, children of narcissists end up unconsciously, repeating those dysfunctional patterns in their adult relationships over and over and over again. And so the ones who will read words and information from these therapists, but you can clearly tell they're not mature, they are disregarding the signs, but like Bezo van der Kolk will point out in an interview, dysregulated people don't know they're dysregulated. And like I have pointed out, that's why 3 leadership truths we don't discuss enough and haven't yet held leaders accountable for, which we will begin to. If those who want to tell me they own businesses, corporations, are into really doing emotional intelligence, if they're smart, they're going to know the core. And then if they're really wanting to succeed, they're not going to put on pedestals and whatever when you have dysregulation and maladaptive patterns of behavior, because it's easy to spot where the drama kings and the drama queens are at. And although someone said we shouldn't call them that, it's pretty easy to spot. Martyrs, blamers, superiors, codependent, insecure people. They need Terrio. Go find Terrio. He works with couples, but he'll do great in any company anyways because he works with people and makes them into real men and real women by actively knowing all the same things that I know and probably more. Or Dr. Daniel Siegel. He's amazing. So instead of going to companies that aren't actually the ones who say, okay, here's what we have. Okay, here's what you want to understand. If they don't want to go to therapy, then you can leave it alone. And there is Nutshell Lady who gives us a way to handle emotionally immature people. The perfect formula from this lady who's another therapist. But I'm just going to say, if I own a business, I don't want any of those who would make others uncomfortable. So if you cannot regulate yourself under pressure, you cannot lead others through it. That's it. You don't know how to stay self. And with the mui, take care of your entire herd and to self-regulate while everybody else is dysregulating. I'm just going to let you know, therapists train their therapists to anchor it in. So emotionally intelligent, that's why journaling, self-reflection, our practices help us get stronger, because we're not validating to get weaker. We say, okay, we can do more blissed out. So you don't grow bored by growth, you grow enriched. And when we get irritated, we notice that we're being a bit childish. Okay, so the people who dysregulate and have non-bilateral integration, they will bring forth distortions, the maladaptive patterns of behavior. So inner critic, outer critic. If they're not doing the drinking, drugging, fucking business to make up for whatever's going on, they're going to have other ways, binge eating, binge this, binge that, and they will ignore all of that, which Gabor Mate points out. It's not why the addiction, why the pain. So they ignore the signs. And they ignore it by saying, I don't need it. They're just trying to hold me down. And that is why when Dan Martell says mediocre people who allow you to be in mediocrity are dangerous, it's like, they're not dangerous. People want the easy way out. We understand it because we all know what hard means. And once you understand that it's a choice to expand the window of tolerance, to want to welcome, and within 1 year doing that, they're trying to make us get over our feelings sooner than later. Every time you use neuroplasticity, it will be the bright way or the dark way. The bright way creates more curiosity and more resilience, the good way. The other way is I'm helpless, hopeless, a victim of life. I don't want to do it. I'm feeling tired. And then you allow that sluggishness to continue taking over. And that's why validating leaders don't validate their feelings so that they can grow weaker. And we don't yell at ourselves so we can grow stronger. That's bullshit. I'm going to read you a study. Wait for it because it's a very good one that we all are a part of. We all have our 14-month-old still with us. Our amygdala is here. So I'm just going to let you know, I'm going to use an example because mine is always checking it out. Okay, so to intellectual intelligence without emotional intelligence creates division, ignorance, arrogance, and hatred. Because that's the point where people say, oh, you said Kali, Shiva, and Krishna Lila. I know those stories. Those are all these stories. How dare you, Reiki master, tell me it's the same energy as love? No, it's not. And so when you have people who are divisive, it's clear based on their narratives and based on the fact that they don't like that we bring it all in. Because the left brainers is what I call them, non-bilaterally, don't like where A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. They react. They immediately have a reaction. The ones who are, by the way, so insecure to the point of where they're planning like their next steps because they have a way of, so 0-8-year-olds, non-metabolized trauma time, have a way that they defended their core wound. There's also the IFS model, right? So there's some that are firefighters and others that are protectors. I forget all the words, but the point is that they will have mannerisms that worked for them as children, quote unquote, that now are not actually working. They can be modeled also that which is called a very pompous asshole-ish attitude, like this one Terry Real pointed out, and because sometimes it's not the shame stuff. Sometimes they're actively modeling the attitude that was shown. So if I have a person who was arrogant with me and I model that too, it's because I'm not breaking that habit and I'm copying it. But you will hold yourself and others accountable the way you were held. So if you're not disengaging from that pattern of behavior yourself, you're not going to be doing the work. That's why, so for those who are aware emotionally and mentally, we don't think of it as change because we don't feel changed. The therapist, that's why though they say you did change and you do change. It's like, okay, whatever, you may feel changed. I don't feel changed. My child parts come up, I mature them every time, or I just say it's okay. That's how it works for those of us who have wholeness. And so your self-image doesn't change. Use your name. Mystic spiritual doesn't change who you are. You're a human first. And the soul is the same for all, or the frequency, whatever you want to call it, but your body is what you're living in. And so the part about it's not a competition, and really, so here's where for me, there are those who don't believe in God and spiritual stuff and mysticism. And I don't have to make you into a believer because the fact is my relationship and my experiences matter to me and those who have lived them and live them too. I love that we can talk about different universes, all of the astral travel, but not make it into something that is a special group or good group or bad group. When you came out, what happened? Did you get accepted and welcomed? That's where when I see these people who felt rejected by scientists because we were spiritual and mystic, that's what, you're woo-woo, what do you want? I mean, if you get the actual humble, securely attached, empowered, everything scientists, they won't do that. They'll be at all. They will be like, wow, Let me hear more. I'm so curious about this. That's what happens when you have epistemically curious and disciplined people who are emotionally intelligent and secure and not performing it. They will be at awe and they will hear you and they will respect, and they won't be trying to prove you're wrong or not. They won't come at it with skepticism. They won't come at it with ha 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 inside of them. Okay, so whenever we are making fun of something we don't understand in a way of denying it and then using a story, no, using science to validate that you can laugh like that, sure, you keep laughing. I know you're arrogant and you don't notice it. I won't teach you manners and I don't need you to believe in my story in the first place. And I won't whine about it if you call me any of the names in the world, because the person who's dumb is the person who's closed off to noticing. You don't even know what the experiences are. And FYI, science can't actually disprove God or our downloads or whatever. But hey, let's not try. So that's where I really find it humorous when it comes to crystals, tarot, Reiki, Akashic Records, quantum physics, and just quantum field, all of it. I find it humorous when I see the groups of spiritual bypassers and somatic bypassers, what I might say, who don't notice that they make it boring to be around them because they don't just have awe. And I might be culpable too at times of getting defensiveness. That's the part. You can't always tell. But if someone tells me it sounds like you're getting defensive about information and in exchange, I will take that. I will say, okay, let's continue. I'm ready for more. And that's because I'm curious and I don't care about right or wrong, because really quantitative data, here's your objective truths. That's it. I'm not part of that group. I'm actively a part of the woo-woo group. So people who, on the other hand, validation seeking, that is the real enemy of leadership, because there's no leader there. Oh, sure, I don't want to tell you you're right or wrong. I know the experts in academia and who are peer reviewed and who continue to hang around each other and who are humble with each other are the ones who I will be looking at. As for the nasty ones, I'll be learning from them, because they still are geniuses who can provide golden nuggets to those who will bring it all in, because they're not competitive and they don't care if they were made fun of or not, because they actually care about the subject matter. So when people care about what they do for real, they're not competing and trying to stand out from the crowd, because they don't need to, because they already know what gets left behind stands a test of time because of fixing a bigger picture, by the way. Not because it only affects you, no, because you are in it for the entire globe and universe, for all we know, as an interconnected everything. So love is what humanity is made of. And when I read to you a couple of these different things that I want to read to you, you're going to be like, wow, if you're following the embodied brain logic with the biology and the cellular stuff, and how, you know how from a fish it became, or from a cell, the fish, all that. Okay, so when I think of our embodied brain and how I learned about our ventral vagal state when it came about, at least from one of my courses with Stephen Porges, although I need to finish it, I remember he said when we as a community, as tribes, began to sit down with each other, that's where we were able to have this social engagement system. And I was like, well, that makes sense, so from the gist of it, don't, again, take me by the book, don't write down notes, but so validation seeking is the enemy of real leadership, because it supports mass delusion based on tribal certainty, polarization, emotional charges, shared narratives of good or bad. So whenever you see someone playing to crowd, they're using the word evil. Lack of imagination for evil is playing to crowd. You lack the education and you lack the capacity to know that evil is a word that we don't really appreciate using, because people who can get help are not that word that was created way back when with stories. And as a mystic, I've seen the planes of all of it, and I talk to God all the time. So FYI, God doesn't get defeated, by the way. And if really we must bring in lower frequency, then I'm going to say you got the ability to choose how you want to handle yourself. But also I'm going to say 3D, 4D, the sad thing is they're bypassers of their embodied brain. And when you hear about Patrick McNamara's explanation, decentralizing in the self and religious experiences, and how he shows in 2 different interviews what happens to the brain, you know why someone will have a bad experience and more. And it's not because of a monster. It's because of the embodied brain not being integrated and needing the support of that which is a good therapist, and time for them to work with that however long it takes. Because memory barriers and whatever other words they've used that I forget right now are actively potentially a part of that. And that's why if you care about yourself, you go to experts. and you don't play like you're better than experts. You also don't get buffooned by those who think that they know everything, because that's where, if you got taught how to be smart, my mother taught me, and she still does, how to discern professionals you work with or not, and how to say no, and how to remember not everybody doesn't know everything. So that's why you learn how to be smart, and you don't deny one or the other, you learn more. And if you feel uncomfortable, you can say no. So you stand up for yourself, but also academia, again, it's very clear when you get those who are experts, because they will want your best interest. Integration is not dangerous when it's explained exactly the process, and some people won't want it immediately. And when they're working with good people, they will say, don't worry, we take as long as it takes. They will make it not scary. They will help you understand it. Those who reject and act like buffoons and think they don't need any of it, they fall around the morons that they like to put on pedestals. And I can't be like, oh, let me feel sorry for the fool on the wrong fool's journey. It's okay, sure, keep on following. Hey, Pinocchio, how many times did you fall for that fox and whatever? I finally figured out to get off the island. You had donkey ears, then you had to hit rock bottom. Oh my gosh, wow, it took you forever to figure out that you wanted to, yeah, okay, wow. So I don't feel sorry for Pinocchio. And I don't feel sorry for people who make the mistakes that they do, because I think of Patrick Tian, as he points out. He's a childhood trauma survivor, healed and healing. He was 20 when his friend gave him a slip after a breakup, and he took it seriously, and then he became a therapist. And so, like he points out, he says, we don't have to forgive if we don't want. I forgive, but I get it. He's there for the group who needs to hear that, and who, at the very bare minimum, will respect themselves and heal their child and become the person that they were meant to become. And so that love that they hold, that goodness, that kindness, and he teaches also about projection and all that stuff. So at the end of the day, those who care about what they do, as he says, Boca Raton won't heal your child at anything. And there's a bunch of spiritual bypassers out there. One shaman I'll never forget, come to me, I'll save you 10 years of therapy. Wow, that's not cool. What did you just say? No, and no little breath work. You go and take it seriously. I ain't giving you a little bit of this or that. This is the serious work, and the little bit of work might actually not be, no, not might. So when someone doesn't care about themselves, I do understand that they weren't taught to love themselves first. This is why some would say, you lack compassion, Maria. No, I don't. I actually have lots of compassion. But those people, when you meet them, and great, Maria. Sure. Okay. So when mediocre people want to be supported in their mediocre habits and they don't want to hear any of it, it's like, I have to accept that you want to do yourself a disservice. I'm the buffoon and the moron. And what? I'm supposed to talk on a screen about it in a way that makes it sound like, I'm so sorry. I am sorry. But what I'm sorry most of all is that people don't take Patrick Tian seriously. And they don't go get healed. So I get to see a bunch of emotionally immature people, not only in positions, being put on pedestals, and they think they own words, and then they think they know what they're talking about. And I'm 4'9" and don't stand a chance, and I don't want to hang out with them. So those who are tribal, they pat each other. It also could become very dangerous, by the way, that you're around people who are part of masses in delusional ways. So luckily, when someone says guru, same as cult leader, no. And really, if you had to ask that, then you might want to be one of those who goes to therapy, because if you're confused by what a guru would be and a cult leader, it means you got a bad gut. That guru will expand you, grow you, give you more information. It's like the expert. A good expert isn't a cocky asshole. They actually keep learning more, and they tell you they don't know everything. And so if they give you I know it everything, come to me, and those are the bad ones. Wow. Seriously? Good or bad? How old are you? Okay, so I'm done with a little bit of sharing of my frustration, and let's move to that other story. That way I can tell. My amygdala works like yours. I'm telling you. I'm harnessing it right now. And if I mentioned journal prompts, which I think I had at the beginning, so maybe you're still here. Hold on for it. Okay, I'll give them to you now, because I have 3 of them that I wrote. Let me see. One. Okay, they're all here. So number 1, we talked about this one a couple weeks ago. How has my ability to create steadiness from uncertainty helped me to stay true to myself, to help others in need, and that's everyone who obviously will want a hug, and more. And even if they don't ever apologize, remember, the ones of us who are like, if they don't want to get their A game on, it's not like you're going to be able to convince them. And you always maintain your healthy boundaries, of course. So That's very easy. It's a conversation that you will learn easier and easier to say, look, I'm sorry, I can't give you that. And that's the moment of truth where some will think you are an insensitive asshole. And you can accept that, as Terrio points out, because you can be the jerk of a situation. But if you do so with humility, with accepting, and I understand the feelings, the perspective, thank you so much. Doesn't matter if they obviously don't believe you or like that. That's the part of where it's two-way, a whole way, and people that don't learn how to remember that we're all flawed and imperfect and can make mistakes are the ones who grow rigid in life and boring, and we don't want to be around them. And that's why they don't grow more energized, because they don't grow aliveness, groundedness, blissful. They don't grow patient and understanding, and they don't grow patient with that which they don't like. So I'm going to tell you again, I get irritated like anybody else, but I am growing always, and I want to grow, because I don't want to be in a rigid, because I don't need to be. It's also uncomfortable. My body can breathe well. Let me breathe, pause, train the pause. Okay, so how does your ability to create steadiness under pressure and from uncertainty help you to stay true to you, but also to expand humanity into the future, and therefore fulfill that role? For those of you who want to talk about spirituality, every divine empowered feminine has her own divine empowered masculine. That's where, when I look at the old textbooks, when they talk about feminine masculine, there's one feminine, 36 different types of masculines and way to access. And I completely look at the embodied brain as the masculine, divine when it's integrated, and the feminine, the body, embodied, which has no words, which in its purest form knows we don't have to protect the future, because dark matter, dark energy, please don't implode. Natural selection, the science, the stars, all of that. Scientists will get us off the planet one day. Those who want to continue talking about virtual reality stories, they can continue doing it. Those who are grounded in reality say, we are thankful that our species continues to advance. We do understand that there have been mistakes that have been made. We take bold steps forward with the knowledgeable academics, who, the humble ones, will continue to grow those academics, and we will continue fixing systems that they began with teenagers. Remember our kings and queens? 14 years of age. So come on. So we know that we will continue to grow, because intelligence and because natural selection involves that which is biology, and you're made of cells. So the embodied brain, okay? Amygdala, nervous system. This is a study of 200 children from Yale, from 9 months to 14 months. I'm not going to read to you how they titled it, the person who chose to title the article the way they did. This is where they use words like mean and a mean streak, and it's very unnecessary, because I'm going to say, when you understand that our biology needs air, water, food. So my amygdala is made the way it's supposed to be. It will help me to be alerted to that which is of my interest and of my need. Now, my body, like mine is 4'9", is smart enough to know I'm a weak species. I'm also weaker than the bear. Okay, so I'm just saying the basic fears are quite straightforward. As for people, that is something you will also be able to be aware of when you have a self-regulating gut. What do I mean? I think I did say to you at some point where Dr. Daniel Siegel informed me in my courses, in a number of them, but in one of which, that when someone has states of self, you'll notice when they switch, and he described the feeling. People who are emotion intelligent, because of awareness, accountability, and regulation, will perceive, like I, introception, extroception. And so that you will perceive your own stuff and that which is of others. You'll know how to differentiate, because you have ownership of this. That's it. You study self-image. You don't enmesh. You don't get confused. None of that. That happens all to disturbed, self-organized people who need to go to therapy, get stable. Once they're stable, and I saw a person who did that. No energy on person. Said, you're going to therapy. Come back to me once you're having healthy boundaries. Terry Real teaches them. Patrick Tiahan teaches them. So people who don't take therapy seriously, and therefore enmeshing happens, they don't understand why they're influenced by others. I do. Mechanically speaking, this is why manipulation, when somebody wants to talk to me about it, I'm thinking, first, do I have a steady self-image human being who owns their shit or not? If they don't, well then, I'm pretty sure, like my facade friend, they're going to be a flag in the wind. Depending on who they want to be validated by, they're going to act as buffoons always do. So 14-month-old, amygdala, your amygdala like mine. So these study, this Yale, Karen Wynn and another person, they have two different studies that they did. And let me see, where is it? The number one that also Dr. Daniel Siegel had told me about, and probably other therapists as well. So Wynn and lead author Kylie Hamlin, so they first started with Yale, and then they are now University of British Columbia. And so the first study brings to babies two hand puppets that had expressed contrasting preferences. So, for example, one preferring green beans to Graham crackers, the other preferring the crackers to the beans. The babies who themselves preferred the crackers were much more likely to reach for puppets that liked the crackers. Okay, so the children between 9 months to 14 like to play with the teddy bear that liked the same food they do. Then they would not engage with the one that likes the opposite, or if they did, they would actually play very rough with it. Their second study, so they did another study where in this new study they introduced babies to a puppet with the same food preference as the baby and to a puppet with the opposite preference. They then introduced two new puppets. One was helpful and retrieved a dropped rubber ball. The other one was mean and took the ball away. And I'm trying to get to this because, see, I don't like when people are mean. And if you are whole within yourself, anytime you have a dysregulated anything, you're going to be like, what the fuck? But that doesn't mean they're being mean. That means I can be reactive, right? So in a basic interaction as a grown human being, you're not going to take offense, but you can understand that you're still going to be wielded to be enjoying those who treat you with a specific type of respect. So that was where people would think of it as validating. But if you're simply being welcomed, that's different, which is why it's in the absence of being a judgmental asshole, okay? And when you can welcome differences, political truths, religious truths, spiritual truths, science, they're not truths, all these subject matters, okay? I love that word. I'm just teasing because Neil deGrasse, he's like, there's objective truths, political truths, and I'm not teasing him. I'm just teasing the fact that people actually need these types of words to understand subject matters and then opinions. And objective truths, objective, science, data, here it is. Oh, I'm sorry. Did your parents decide not to send you to school because they think you don't need it? No. You think you can learn from those who got away from school? Yeah, Who are they? They are reading to you ancient history. They got rid of the science from now. Yeah, you know what? Pretty sure that's not really smart of your parents to make you so uneducated. But hey, I'm teasing, but I am actually aware that there are those who, because they're wanting to unlearn everything because they got disappointed by the educational system, it's like, okay, seriously, we're gonna make it better, not eliminate it. We have a problem. People try to escape reality with TV all the time, and they already didn't want to study when I was in high school, then in college, then as a professional, and now you want to get rid of, wow, you're not helping the species of ours. But wait a minute, am I exaggerating? You know what? I am, because actually I'm American Italian. I'm so sorry. I come from one group of people. I know people from other countries. They value education. I'll never forget my first roommate in college. Yes, she actively, and her twin sister, complete academics. Mwah, brilliant. So when I see people disregarding brilliance and academia, I'm thinking that nobody needs it. The gaps get filled by those who continue to know what intellectuals know best, which is science is important, so is learning, and so is everything else. So if you don't want to, it's okay. You can use your day doing everything except for learning. Very uninteresting. But there's my amygdala again. See, because I was I was rejected by boys. They wanted to drive around the block. I said, no, I want to sit you down and read. our core. This is the one part that's hilariously fun. I'm sharing with you all, my 3-year-old is always in the lead. So is my teenager, but the 3-year-old is the lead of the pack. Then I come in and say, okay, hold on a minute. Let's calm down here. We're getting way too excited, and here we're getting teenager. Come on, take a seat. Come sit over here. It's okay. We can meet others. So it's fun, your playground. You see what I'm saying? And wholeness. If they don't separate, they don't talk differently. That's not what I'm talking about. And actually, if you're still here, you know what I'm talking about. I forget that some people have fun with their child parts. There are those who are like, I don't want to call it that. Okay, there's IFS model. There's nervous system stuff. There's other ways you can work with it. But I really love my child parts. They come up just exactly at that age. So anyways, it's fun to discover more of yourself and share with people who know what it's like. You don't know what it's like to be the bad one. We all can know what it's like to be rejected. Come on. So yeah, that's what I was trying to say. My amygdala still likes intellectually savvy, all of it, and doesn't enjoy, well, I can enjoy entertainment only for some time though. So here's where this, remember the helpful one and the one who's not helpful. So all of the infants did not like the mean one, okay, as expected. The babies of both ages preferred 9 months and 14 months. The helper over the meanies, when the puppet being assisted liked the same food they did. So hold on. So remember, they liked the same food, and then they preferred the helpful one over the mean one. But the next finding surprised them. When the puppet that dropped the ball did not share the baby's taste in food, the infants preferred the mean puppet to the helper. In other words, babies prefer someone who is nice to an individual similar to themselves, but they also prefer someone who is mean to a dissimilar individual. Okay, let me read that one again in case, because it's a little bit confusing to me when I'm reading it. So the next finding, the puppet that dropped the ball, who did not share the baby's taste in food, the infants preferred the mean puppet over the helper, to the helper. And then they were also, quote unquote, appreciative of the mean one being mean to the other one, and something like that. And what I wanted to talk about is also another study that I actually don't remember where I have it, but this one is on how some people, based on these past studies, this one's more recent, I'm assuming, say that we can only connect to and have meaningful 150 social connections, something like that, which I understand. I mean, and really in 24 hours, it's not like you're going to be able to pay attention to that many people. But the part that always gets me when someone is using one study and another, so the 14-month-old, these are 200 infants, not the billions, right? So people will also minimize the findings. While when you look at it from a bigger scale, the psychologists and sociologists will tell you that's why tribalism and small groups are what will win and what will work. While that is actually a bias, meaning that that is the inclination of our amygdala to keep us protected and safe. We all understand this. If I'm using two sides and you gave me pieces of information, which is what I did with you right now, and I now know this, I will know why I'm getting irritated and focusing on the people who are fear-based in a way of not liking them. One, they're mean, they're dysregulated, they don't share, and they're children who I wouldn't play with probably. But I'm a grown woman, and they're humans, and they're people who can be helped. So that's where, are you mature or immature? What's going on? Are you intelligent? Are you stupid? You want to be reactive with affective realism, or you want to be a person who uses the word intelligence, knowing that your feels come first, then your thoughts, and they're always affected by your feels. And so your 14-month-old and your amygdala can rule you, but the minute you're aware of it and you're smart enough to be emotionally aware as well and choosing to be your best self, not mediocre in your behavior, playful, flexible, not rigid, how has your capacity to, under uncertainty and activation and pressure, be true to yourself? And is that good enough? If you have a steady self-image, it's good enough, because you'll hold yourself in high standards, and you won't be lazy to say, I'll allow myself to get bad behavior. I validate my bad feelings, and I decide that I want to project it. That's what people who don't use journaling and mindset and any of that, which is wellness, to grow themselves up, I can say, you can do better. You don't have to, but hey, I'm not going to tell you that you're doing the best you can. I'm going to tell you you're looking for validation, fair and square. I probably want it too. That's why the community that I'm building is not going to be one that is going to be okay with dysregulated people being okay with being dysregulated. But we won't make people go get self-regulated, because you can't physically do that. And look how far back it can go, to the 14-month-old of us. And look at how many different studies, by the way, of people not helping up people from a different football team. No, from the football team that they want that loses. This was in England. And they help up more likely the one who's of the same football team, and the one with the neutral jersey, it's a mix. So this is where society and the masses. So if you're a follower, you follow the leader. Hey, Peter Pan, how's the Lost Boys? You ain't no leader to a person who know what leadership means. It means I don't follow a crowd. I watch the crowd, then I notice how you treat each other, and then I notice I got taught manners by my mom, and I'm not going to portray hatred. It's a very strong word, unnecessary. I have feelings. I can be enraged and upset, but I forgive. I'm sorry. Jesus taught me, how it works. So in part about what I get to let you all in on, I love learning. A 4-year-old, again, I still love learning. And I'm in college and meeting people who don't love learning. I'm like, why are you in college? When I'm meeting people who don't think anybody needs it, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm happy that we have academics, because seriously, and countries who value it, because I'm beyond amazed at all the knowledge that we get. When I meet the ones who are pseudo-intellectuals, I laugh my ass off, and I know who they're there for. And so while they praise each other, I just think, sure, keep praising your mediocre mannerisms and your epistemic laziness and all of that, which you're doing to pretty much not expand your window of welcome. But hey, I'm sorry, not my body, your body, not my nervous system. Survivorship bias, blindedness. And so while some will think that we can actually have threat from those who are less intelligent, I will let you all know, again, natural selection, biology, the flow state. And really what I'm trying to get at is the ones who are humble are not loud like these people, because they're not going to bullshit you. And they're not going to use some manipulative hook, because that's not their style. They're going to look to build that which is called leadership. And so they don't actually think of lying to you and manipulating you and all of that other stuff that others who instead are trying to win your affection and win popularity and do all of that, which is what masses do, the teenagers. Who's going to be the next popular king and queen? Oh, let's look who's going to make it to the top of the star. Anytime I'm thinking, like, okay, the ones who last a lifetime, they really didn't plan on becoming stars in the first place. They just did what they knew would be of support to all, and somehow they continued building it and didn't think of it as easy or hard. They continued to believe that everything will be okay, because that's how self-regulation works. Under pressure, you don't give up on your dreams, and you don't give up on humanity, and you don't think that they're made of anything different than what you're made of, because that's what a 14-month-old will also know. We all have an amygdala. So if that amygdala is self-serving from an emotionally immature perspective, they don't have what it takes to hold space for me. It's okay. I forgive. Like Stephen Porges points out, biological rudeness is not done on purpose. They need to first learn how to self-regulate. I'm okay with that. And when you think of handling 5 hands, you reiterate your healthy boundaries. Either they'll become people that you love and they love you, and there you go. And so as for the world, the 150, so Dunbar's number, apparently 150 stable relationships. And this was a study from the 1990s. So it's the average number. And what I found out is that there's a debate, a study from 2021 by Stockholm University researchers, Johan, Linda, and al., challenged this, arguing that modern data suggests people can maintain more than 150 relationships, and that the cognitive limit is not that precise. Now, there's one more piece of information that I'm going to bring, and this one, I need to actually remember where I put it, but this is... remember Robert Sapolsky? I've talked to you about his book, Determined. And sometimes I make fun, but not of him. I just make fun of the part that he says we have no free will. So in the email that I sent to myself, because I send myself emails so that I can grab notes from different places. Maybe it's here. I actually have where he describes how our brain evolved to having this lovely prefrontal cortex. And then I remember there's a study of his that he also talks about with baboons and the stingy baboons who didn't make it to tomorrow, while the other ones, and that would be male baboons, the ones who were not aggressive and arrogant and being stingy, the survivorship of the fittest, whatever, those who still think that it's brute force in hands don't actually understand why dumbed down is not winning. Meaning that our species, one, survivorship supported us. And so when someone's making generalizations, stereotypes, they're continuing to fuel and feed off of a bunch of different things, which I see. It's, I can't even, I have no words. I didn't think we'd have that many people out there. But then I remind myself, Maria, your brain hones in on that which you don't like, that you know is dangerous. And so maybe you're skewed because you're really spotting always, which is why Buddha makes fun of me. A sage will make fun of another, not because they're trying to make you feel small, because they're trying to say, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. High five, Buddha. And Jesus obviously stares me down because he's like, you said you'd forgive. Where's your forgiveness? You're a bit bitter today, Maria. Come on, get it on. And that's how it works sometimes. I can definitely be upset at those assholes, but I'm not upset to the point of where I would be mean to them too much, to call them monsters. And they're not monsters. They're people who need to be loved, but they don't want love. So in the meantime, I can't find what I'm looking for, but what I wanted to conclude with is the fact that if you hear about how we get our ventral vagal state and then how this prefrontal cortex works, and I can't find it, but he was amazing at how he explains it, Robert Spolsky, you're not going to think, oh, our species is going backwards. You can understand why our species evolved. The ones who like to create the stories, the ones who fill in the gap with all the other stories. I'm not saying that they're not possibilities, but when they're making it sound like it's the only way, okay? So you've heard of galactic beings, angels, future humans. I know I've talked about this, okay? About aliens, and I have plenty of visits and experiences that I could tell you all, but my point is I'm trying to present when a mystic and spiritual, the 5D collective one, it's because I honor Christ consciousness, oneness consciousness, just in case you're curious, because when I began to ascend, I came across the word 5D, the stories, no, the timeline, not stories. And today I bring still those words because I know that 5D are here and 3D, 4D are here. And with the timeline, I got told when specific things would take place. They all have taken place. And the one thing that I was informed of as well with this timeline is 3D, 4D will not be budging. And so that there will be a distance that grows between you. However, wait for it, because that's not accurate. I bring the human elements, the spiritual and spirituality ones, but I'm not going to make this episode too much longer, so I'm going to stop it talking right now. But my point is, with respect to Christ and oneness consciousness, a steady self-image and self-regulation, and people who don't fall for the stories as if they are the only truths, those are the ones who are continuing to move into the present, grounded in reality. Cherishable beliefs are not falsifiable, true. We don't make you have to believe in our stories. And that's the part. It's about how do we get more people to come together. Also, in my case, my channeling, my guidance, everything of the channel is for personal and spiritual growth. So it's directed specifically for you to bring forth a life that is fulfilling as yourself. Stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. And so I don't focus on other types of subject matters, although some might think. But when you hear the ones who are giving people information, for example, there's one lady, she talks about, she actually channels, she's a channel for angels. And I remember one of the things she channeled, and then I remembered the events that specifically took place. And when she was channeling from the angels, what they were saying, I remember she made it sound like it would be, the entire globe would be affected. It wasn't the entire globe that was affected. it was very specific points in very specific places. And in fact, I was like, it affects her group, the group that she's channeling for, but it's not the bigger picture. And the bigger picture, anyone who is able to have that channel and that choice point. So I will see every now and then choice points that are being made and what they could have become had the choice been expanded. But at the same time, here's where I don't make it my mission to read too much into it. And that means I don't allow myself to navigate something that isn't tangibly going to help people, because there's no need for me to do that, by the way. As I know our outcome will be that hopefully we're going to continue to be on this planet. No, I'm here in the future, so I know the outcome is going to be fine. And anyways, that's a side note. So we'll be back again with more. In the meantime, it was a pleasure having you all here. Subscribe, share with those who have a steady self-image, who like journaling, who like mindset practices. PayHip has bundles for you. Substack, you can subscribe. We're going to have some free subscription material and some paid, so I'm still planning that. And again, also some lives eventually with YouTube and TikTok. I haven't stopped, just paused that as I reorganize all the content. So thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.